I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was studying business in college and never done a school play or anything.
He didn't talk about it when Magnum PI made him one of the most recognizable faces on television. He didn't talk about it in interviews or during the years when Hollywood kept asking him about the past. For 4 decades, Tom Selleck chose silence. But now, at 80, he finally speaks about Sally Field. And when he does, it isn't a story about regret or lost love or scandal. It's something quieter, something harder, a story about timing and the price you pay when ambition and the heart collide. He doesn't speak about her with sadness. He speaks with a kind of gentleness, the kind that only appears late in life, when the years have softened old edges and turned emotion into reflection. "Some people don't stay forever," he said once, "but they matter forever." And in his voice, you hear it, not pain, not nostalgia, but understanding. Because theirs was never a dramatic Hollywood breakup. There was no betrayal, no tabloid eruption, no grand argument on a movie set. Instead, it was a connection that arrived at the wrong moment, in 2 lives that were moving in opposite directions, at a time when both of them were trying to become who they needed to be. And sometimes, that is the moment that leaves the deepest mark. Tom Selleck didn't meet Sally Field during his celebrity years. He wasn't yet the confident figure in the Hawaiian shirt and Ferrari. He wasn't an icon or a household name. He was a man still trying to climb his way up, still uncertain where he truly belonged. His first marriage had ended quietly, without bitterness or drama, not because love disappeared, but because life had changed shape. He was in that fragile space that comes after a chapter closes, when you're still learning who you are without someone else beside you. He once admitted, "I wasn't broken, but I was still figuring out who I was outside of a marriage." And that kind of uncertainty doesn't just affect your life, it affects how you approach love. Into that moment stepped Sally Field. She wasn't just kind, she wasn't just warm or charismatic. She understood him, because she had walked through the same battlefield, rejection, doubt, and a career that demanded more than it ever gave back. For years, she'd been seen only as the bright, smiling girl next door, the cheerful face from light-hearted television roles. But beneath that image was a woman who fought to be taken seriously, who was trying to prove she was more than what the industry had allowed her to be. And Tom recognized that fight instantly, because he was living it too. Their connection wasn't born from fame. Neither of them were truly famous yet. It wasn't built on illusion or glamour. It was built on something much simpler: mutual respect. 2 people who saw the same hunger, the same uncertainty, the same determination in each other's eyes. There was no sweeping, romantic grand entrance, no scripted Hollywood spark, just 2 people who met at the crossroads of their lives when everything felt uncertain and nothing felt guaranteed. And sometimes, that kind of connection feels stronger than any dramatic love story ever could. It was 1979, a year that would become a turning point, not just for their careers, but for everything that came after. Tom Selleck had spent nearly a decade fighting for recognition, audition after audition, commercial after commercial, small television roles that came and went without leaving a trace. He had the look, tall, broad-shouldered, undeniably charismatic. But Hollywood is filled with people who have the look. What he needed was the moment, the role that would change everything. And Sally Field? She was in the middle of her own transformation. She'd already tasted fame, but it was the wrong kind. The kind that typecasts you. The kind that made people smile when they saw you, but never took you seriously. She was fighting to break free from that image, fighting to show the world she could carry dramatic weight, that she wasn't just America's sweetheart, she was a real actress. They were both climbing the same mountain, just from different sides. Their relationship unfolded quietly, away from cameras, away from the press, in an industry obsessed with spectacle. Theirs was a romance built on something quieter. Long conversations, shared silences, the comfort of being understood without having to explain yourself. "We were both climbing," Selleck would later recall. The difference was, she had already reached a plateau I was still aiming for. There was no jealousy in that statement, only honesty, because that's what made their connection so genuine. They didn't compete with each other, they recognized each other. And in Hollywood, that kind of recognition is rare. But recognition doesn't always lead to permanence. Then came 1980, the year everything changed. Tom Selleck was cast as Thomas Magnum in Magnum P.I., and overnight, literally overnight, his life was no longer his own. The show didn't just make him famous, it made him iconic. The mustache, the Hawaiian shirts, the Ferrari, the easy charm mixed with unexpected depth. America fell in love with him, and Hollywood opened every door he'd spent years knocking on. But fame doesn't derive quietly. It doesn't ask permission. It crashes into your life like a wave, and it takes everything with it. The schedule became relentless. 18-hour days on set, press junkets, interviews, appearances, public scrutiny that never stopped. Every moment analyzed, every relationship questioned. And in the middle of all that chaos, Sally Field was changing too. She wasn't standing still while Tom's star rose. She was rising herself, but in a different direction. She was delivering performances that would earn her Academy Awards, shattering the image that had once confined her, proving, finally, that she was more than what people had assumed she was. They were both moving, both succeeding, both becoming the people they'd fought so hard to be. But they were moving away from each other. Not intentionally, not cruelly, but inevitably. "We were both moving fast," Selleck admitted years later. "Not away from each other exactly, but forward, in different directions. And sometimes forward motion means letting go." There was no dramatic ending, no final confrontation, no tearful goodbye captured in some tabloid photograph. Their relationship simply faded, the way real things often do. Not with an explosion, but with distance, with missed phone calls and conflicting schedules, with the slow realization that the person you care about is becoming someone new, and so are you, and the people you're becoming don't fit together the way you once did. It's one of the cruelest truths about ambition, that sometimes the price of becoming who you're meant to be is losing the person who understood who you were. Tom Selleck never spoke badly about Sally Field, not once, not in 40 years, because there was nothing bad to say. She hadn't wronged him, he hadn't wronged her. They had simply been two people who met at the wrong time, or perhaps the right time, but only for a season. What stayed with him wasn't anger or bitterness, it was something gentler, a quiet gratitude. For the understanding they'd shared, for the moment when someone saw him, truly saw him, before the world decided who he was supposed to be. "Sally is exactly who people think she is," he would say later, his voice warm with affection. "She's real, she's kind, and she's stronger than she ever lets on." In an industry built on performance, on carefully constructed images and calculated personas, that kind of authenticity left a mark. The years moved on, as they always do. Tom Selleck became one of the most recognizable faces in television, but he also became something else, a man determined to not let fame consume him the way it had consumed so many others. In 1987, at the height of his career, he married Jill Rack, and this time he made a different choice. He protected his marriage fiercely. He stepped back from the spotlight deliberately. When his daughter Hannah was born in 1988, he chose to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. He slowed down his career, turned down roles, prioritized family over fame. Because he'd learned something during those years of relentless ambition, that success without connection is hollow. That being recognized by millions of people means nothing if the people that matter don't recognize you at all. He built a life in California, away from Hollywood Center. A ranch, a quiet existence, a family that knew him not as Tom Selleck the star, but as Tom, husband, father, a man who chose presence over prestige. And yet, even in that carefully constructed piece, Sally Field never fully left his mind. Not in a painful way, not with longing or regret, but she remained there quietly, like a photograph you keep tucked in a drawer. a reminder of a moment when life could have gone differently, when a different choice might have led to a different future. Some people come into your life for a season, he reflected decades later. They're not meant to stay forever, but they matter forever. And in that simple statement lies the truth he finally understood. At 80 years old, Tom Selleck sits with the kind of stillness that only comes from a life fully lived. The sharp edges of youth have softened, the urgency has faded. What remains is clarity. He doesn't look back on his relationship with Sally Field with regret. He looks back with gratitude for what they shared, for what they gave each other in a moment when they both needed it, for the reminder that love doesn't always mean forever. Sometimes it means exactly what it was meant to be in that moment. It wasn't about permanence, he said in a rare moment of openness. It was about timing, shared ambition, and a connection that remains fondly remembered long after the spotlight moved on. He understands now what he couldn't see then, that some people enter your life not to stay, but to teach you something, to show you who you are, to remind you what matters. Sally Field showed him that kindness and strength aren't opposites, that you can be gentle and still be powerful, that authenticity in Hollywood isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. And he showed her, though perhaps neither of them fully realized it at the time, that respect doesn't require possession, that you can care deeply about someone and still choose to walk away, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go.
Their story doesn't end with reconciliation or reunion. There's no Hollywood ending where they find each other again years later and realize what they'd lost. Because that's not what this story is about. This is a story about two people who respected each other enough to understand when the moment had passed, who knew that clinging to something out of fear or nostalgia would only diminish what it had been, who carried something unspoken for 40 years, not regret, but tenderness. Tom Selleck and Sally Field never became Hollywood's great love story. Their romance wasn't immortalized on screen or chronicled in magazines. It existed in the quiet spaces between ambition and vulnerability, between what could have been and what had to be. And maybe that's exactly what makes it matter. Because the truth Tom Selleck finally tells at 80 isn't about what went wrong. It's about what stayed right. The respect, the distance, the understanding that some connections are meant to be brief, but their impact lasts a lifetime. She mattered, he says now, looking back across the decades with the wisdom that only time can bring. She still matters, not because of what we had, but because of who she was when I needed someone to see me. And I believe, that maybe I was that for her too. In the end, their story is about something deeper than romance. It's about recognition, about two people who found each other in the middle of their own battles and said, without words, I see you, I understand, you're not alone. And then, when the time came, they had the courage to say something even harder. I respect you enough to let you go. That's the truth Tom Selleck carries with him now. Not the pain of loss, but the grace of having known someone who mattered, who shaped him, who reminded him that success without humanity is empty. Sally Field didn't stay in his life, but she stayed in his heart, not as a wound, as a gift. And 40 years later, when he finally speaks her name, there's no bitterness in his voice, no regret, only a quiet acknowledgement of what was, what couldn't be, and what will always remain. Some people don't stay forever, but they matter forever.